Where is Des? This has been a big question around the Deltarune community since the release of Chapter 2, I believe, but there isn't much we know about Des yet. However, after reviewing the weird route, as known as Snowgrave Route, I've found some details that makes the whole run, well, weird. And after trying to piece together the informations I gathered, a disturbing conspiracy is born. So buckle up, sit tight, because this will be a wild ride. Talking about Des, we know she is Noel's older sister, is friends with Asriel and Chris and has gone missing at some point before Chapter 1. Now most of you are probably theory enthusiasts like me, so you might also know about the Goner code scattered in the game's source codes, as well as informations from Spamton sweepstakes. So, with those things in mind, let's start with Goner code. The Goner code is a dialogue hidden inside Deltarune source codes. It shows someone trapped in a dark and cold place, looking for help. People assume this is Des being somehow trapped in the codes, but there aren't much evidences about whether this is true or not, at least that's what you might have thought. You see, in Deltarune Chapter 1, you can recruit Darkners through sparing them. By doing so, you allow Darkners to join your castle town after their fountain is sealed, in which is equivalent of their original world being deleted. So, what happens if a Darkner isn't recruited before the fountain gets sealed? To discuss that, we have to look at it through the game's perspective. To the game, Darkners are a bunch of codes, so when they get deleted along with their world, their code simply isn't used for the following gameplay. And what remains of them are their codes. Sounds familiar? Yes, Des might be in the same situation here, trapped inside a sealed dark world. But things aren't this simple, because how did Des even find herself in this situation? In my previous theories, we discussed about dark worlds being Chris's unique ability, so maybe Chris brought Noel, Des and Asriel into a dark world before. And here you might ask, then why would they just abandon Des in there? Of course they don't just do that, there must be a reason, and for that, we are going to talk about the odd behavior about Noel in Weird Route. To begin, Noel is obviously lying about not knowing the spell Snowgrave. If the expression she had wasn't self-explaining enough, let's look at how spells work. In the Sweet Captain Cake's battle, we know you can't just cast a spell that you don't know, as Susie had to learn the S action before using it. Another example being Susie's ultimate healing. So, in the Berdly fight during Snowgrave Route, the spell Snowgrave just, sort of appeared? Well, here we have to talk about the disturbing nature of Snowgrave. Snowgrave, as a spell, requires a lot to activate. It requires the Thorn Ring equipped on Noel, in which applies physical pain to her by gradually draining her HP down to 55, and also requires us to pressure Noel again and again until her sanity snaps. Lastly, it costs 100% tension points even when wearing Thorn Ring, meaning the user must be in a really stressed state of mind in order to cast this horrific spell. Here you might still be a little confused, maybe you'll say, so what does that have to do with the missing of Des? And that's where we need to pause for a bit, because what's coming next is disturbing to say the least, so you'd like to think twice before proceeding here. Okay, so Asriel, Chris and Noel stopped hanging out together like they used to when Des hasn't gone missing yet, right? Consider this, if Des is simply trapped inside the dark world, then why don't they go back and try to help Des? They are friends, and it's pretty fair that they don't just give up. What if Noel accidentally casted Snowgrave and killed Des? Remember those conditions required to use Snowgrave? The requirements are similar to the mental state of someone who's panicking really badly. This explains Noel's strange expression when being asked to use Snowgrave, why she doesn't have to learn it before using the spell, and why the group didn't even try to rescue Des. If that's not enough, remember what Noel's reaction to Berdly's death is like? She pretended like she don't know what happened, and walked away. If she never experienced something like this, she should probably stand there, looking shocked for what happened. Even if she's manipulated too badly by the player, she wouldn't have the reaction either. It would be something like, I have gotten stronger now, or something similar like how they reacted before. Her reaction of not facing the truth is what a coping mechanism is. She is no stranger to this. And combining the clues and character settings, I have an interpretation of what happened on the day Des disappeared. That day, Chris planned a prank on Noel. They set up a dark fountain at the area near the creepy bunker in order to create a scary dark world and scare Noel, but things got out of control. Noel gets scared very easily, since she is extremely timid, and as she overreacted to the situation, panic took over her mind and awakened the true potential of her, Snowgrave. Then she accidentally casted the spell on Des, but at that moment, Noel realized what they're doing, and collapsed after the spell ends. She couldn't handle the terrible fact that she killed her own sister, and kept repeating one simple phrase, "I don't know what happened." Chris, knowing they've done something terrible, had no choice but to seal up the fountain and left Des inside. However, what they don't know is, somehow Des wasn't dead. She finds herself in a total darkness after passing out. She calls for help, but her calls can't reach to anyone except us, the player, who can inspect the game. So, that's my guess on the day Des disappeared. What do you think about it? Share and discuss it in the comments with everyone. And as always, whether this conspiracy is correct or not, only time will tell.